You on too, Evan?
There's a cell phone on that's trying to talk. It might be her.
Is that you, Angie?
This is me.
Oh, there she is. Okay, perfect. We're all here then. All right. We don't have any guests today. So we'll move right along. This is the point in the meeting for comments on matters not already on the agenda. Comments on agenda items will be accepted when the item comes up during the meeting. Interested persons may also submit views in written form to the clerk or superintendent prior to the meeting, and those comments will be brought to the attention of the board during the meeting. Do we have any correspondence or public participation? Perfect. With that, we'll move right into new business. Yeah, it's up to you.
All right, we have a industrial arts position that we would like to recommend to the board, or hire, I'm sorry. His name is Neil Griswold, and he would be industrial arts middle school, high school. I was on the interview committee, and he did an extremely good job. He's a seasoned veteran, not sure how many years, but I know he's done obviously great work where he's been. I just heard another yesterday reference for him, just how strong he was, how great he was with kids, how knowledgeable he was in the field, and when he left, how much they missed him and weren't able to do some of the things, especially with welding, those kind of things that he was able to do. So they just said he's a really easygoing guy, and that was the vibe I got when I met with him. He came in and introduced himself to me, and then he went to Ryan and got through everything, and I think he'd be a great addition to our staff. So
Something we've been needing anyway.
Yeah.
yep, really want to keep that position full. So
Perfect.
I move the Colstrip Public Schools Board of Trustees approves hiring certified teacher Griswold for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any public comment on this agenda item?
That in the minutes.
Any further board discussion? Sabrina?
Aye.
Angie?
Aye.
Wade?
Aye.
Tiff?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. With that, we'll move on to 4.02, which, Scott, you want to talk a little bit about that curriculum
Yeah.
position?
yeah, there were some questions last meeting, so we are, running short on time, so wanted to have us make a decision, have him make a decision at this meeting. So I gathered as much as I could in a rather short amount of time, as I found out. It's not the easiest thing to track down through OPI and some of even accreditation to get a hold of people, discover what consortium and multi-district. I'll go back over the state statute. It's actually 10.55.704 that regulates this position. And as I talked about last time, I'll hit the part that covers us. The curriculum coordinator shall hold a Class 3 administrative license. Those districts with fewer than 100 FT licensed staff and no full-time curriculum coordinator, so that is an option for us, but this is the piece we would have to do, shall employ the services of a consortium, multi-district collaborative, or interlocal cooperative, or a part-time designated curriculum coordinator. And I know there's been some discussion over that name, and that's in state statute, but when we went with OPI and talked to them about it, they said, well, they're endorsed as, and the title for that position is Supervisor of Curriculum and Instruction. So that's why there's been some differences in wordings, and Ryan's got that all straightened out as of today. That came to my attention last night, but that is the official endorsement that they would have to hold. And we are required, if we fill this position, it is an admin position. There's no choice in that. It has to be a Class 3 license. So now we do have, it's up to us what the salary would be. So we've been doing some research, if we go that direction, what average salaries are for this position in the state. So where we would be at that, I think I'll come in with that here in a little bit, but let's jump back maybe to what people didn't know. I didn't know what the consortium, multi-district collaborative, or interlocal cooperative meant. So in my findings, there are some organizations in the state that you can contract with that provide a service that does give direction for staff. The one that I spoke to on the phone and have been emailing back and forth a little bit is the Montana Educational Curriculum Consortium. And so they do provide curriculum alignment. They have trainings. They have 5 sessions. They're in Gallatin County though. So they said, Bart Bailey told me yesterday of one that he's worked with called ACE out of Lockwood, and she mentioned that one too. So they're real similar, it sounds like, in their functions, and they work with state testing requirements. They pretty much help a district with all of those kinds of needs. But one thing she said was, we do require that you name, they call it a curriculum champion, which is a lead person, and they want that to be a principal to carry that hat, to carry that ball, to attend those meetings, to do all of those things, which vertical alignment, standards adoption. I think it's a math this year for the state. There's new math standards. So then, they do provide advice and help, again, in trainings. It's pretty neat. It'd be around $5,000. It's not a huge amount, but so that's if you just go strictly without a curriculum person. Now, I did ask him. I noticed that Hardin and some other districts, they have a full-time curriculum supervisor of curriculum and instruction. It's usually called curriculum director. That's legal, but so I'll just refer to it as curriculum director. But and they contract with these folks, and they said, oh yeah, especially if you have a new person, inexperienced person, it's great because then we come alongside, we inform them of all of these requirements, of how to do them. One thing she mentioned I thought was really pretty awesome was that when they write curriculum with the school district, they actually align that so that teachers are teaching what they need to do to prepare kids for the testing. The MAST test will be required this year. And so there's already a training she just told me about, I had no idea about, by OPI coming up in Miles City, where if you had a person in this position, they'd just be focusing on these things with that group. So she said, yeah, that's kind of ideal, whether it's them or ACE or somebody else that we could discover that we would go with. I think that it's a really informative, helpful group or consortium. So that's one way if you don't have a curriculum coordinator or a curriculum director, sorry. Now the other piece to this is we could have a part-time designated curriculum coordinator. Again, I'm going to refer to it as a director. So part-time, I struggle a little with. And again, I've talked to the principals again, reached out to them, gotten some input back. A little hard with Robin in Italy. She gave me kind of a rundown. She said, yeah, part-time, half and half could mean basically half curriculum and half grants, which this position has overseen grants. And in the job description, I'll hand out a little bit once we get to, if we go that direction with the director, all the grants and all the things they would oversee and all of their duties. So I revised those. Been working with Bart and with Ryan, and looking at different pieces of it that are done. We could, I think, kind of satisfy teachers, because there's some concerns from the teachers about too many people maybe being evaluating them, observing them. And as I looked at the past job description, I totally understand now what they were talking about. I get it, why they said that. So, but part-time, that's hard because it doesn't say half-time. So then if you go part-time people are very hard to get, I think. People are hard to get anyway. So could it be just part-time and that's all they do? If you could find somebody, or part-time plus something else. And then again, that depends on what they're certified in or what they're able to do, or what we have open in the district, because part-time curriculum director, which has to be Last three again has to be admin, okay? There's no way around that with OPI. You have to certify in that way to be, it's required by the state. The other half then, a teaching position of some sort, I think that's a challenge. You know, that's a struggle to find the good fit. It just happens to be one of our openings, okay? So there's option of just consortium. They offer a lot of services. And one thing she did make sure and say, she said, well, we do this with districts that don't have a director, but typically after the first 2 years, it's almost impossible to just go with a consortium, because then you're into implementing all of those things and what you've set teachers to and a lead principal to, all the things that they've learned, textbook adoptions. They don't do a lot of textbook adoption. She said they don't do that yet, so that's a missing piece. So she said after a couple of years, it's nearly impossible to exist with just a consortium. So they're really there, I feel, as kind of a extra service to help out. To replace would be difficult. Part-time again, I feel that would be difficult to get somebody. I'm not saying that you couldn't, but then to wear all of the hats once you see the job descriptions, I think that would be really difficult. Because of, I think, vertical aligning, she mentioned that too. If you vertical align, if you have somebody in one school doing a position like this, then the focus tends to be on that school. They're not spread out. Like I've heard some things about an IF possibly doing these things. I don't think that's a good fit myself, because then you bring in grants, then you bring in other duties that you'll see here in a minute. So
is there an option to open this, and then if we don't get anybody in, to go get into that consortium anytime? It's not we don't have to be in there before the first of the year.
She didn't give any deadlines on that kind of thing, no. Okay. But I think, yeah, let's take a look at this. That's a good thought, because that could happen.
Yeah.
Here, I don't know if anybody else. Bart, you want to take a look at this? Yeah. So what I did was I took that past job description and salary rate. Again, taking a look at all the research as far as averages and what the state averages, even the billings averages. Came up with, and in the past it was a 230-day contract, and I think $75,000 right now would be a really appropriate salary based on our findings of the averages between 71.5 and somewhere in the low 80s. I did bring that with me, but I think to attract somebody, but to try to satisfy the requirements of the position, I did, and the concerns of the teachers, again, that were brought to my attention that they might have just too many people to answer to. There were a number of evaluative requirements of this position that I took out. I removed all of them. And I don't believe that it's the job of a curriculum director to go in. I'll read a couple of them that were in here. So what we formerly previously had or currently have, if it's removed, conduct formal and informal observations and supervision of staff. So a formal observation of a staff member, all of a sudden you've got a director going in, observing and writing formal observations, and you also have principals doing that who evaluate them. So to me, that needs to be taken out based on what teachers are saying, and I don't understand that either. I think that all of a sudden you are sending mixed messages, what this person thinks of you, what your actual evaluator who recommends you thinks of you. Next line, conduct observations of any teachers placed on improvement plans. Again, I believe that's the job of a principal to work with that teacher to bring them along, to be coaching them, to write an improvement plan with them, to be working in conjunction with them and holding them accountable for that, not a director of curriculum. So cut that out. Counsel with principals and teachers on matters of district-wide concerns in order to help them improve their effectiveness. Could have left that in, but it does sound evaluative in nature when it talks about improve their effectiveness. I think that's just going to happen as you see other pieces of the job description. Encourage ethical practices of teachers. Again, I think that's the principal who's looking over if their ethics are appropriate, whether that be just even things like work ethic, coming to work on time, what have you, as far as following, completing their duties. Cooperate with administrative and supervisory personnel on the overall education program. I think I moved that just to a different location. I did, yeah. But then this last piece, supervise and evaluate instructional facilitator teachers. I checked, and in the past, actually, the principals have been doing that. The principals have been evaluating the IFs, even though it was in the job description of the director. They haven't been doing it. So, and I kind of toyed with that idea a little bit, but then again, you're putting them in an evaluated position. And I think if an IF isn't doing the job to help your teachers, your principal is going to know about it, really should know about it. That I know they'll work hand in hand with the curriculum director, the IF, as far as implementing the curriculum correctly. But them, again, to have an evaluative, I know I just didn't feel comfortable with that one. I was a little bit, if I had principals here, I could have asked them about that one, but for some reason, the principals have done that. And that was my thought. Well, I don't want to put it on principals if they haven't been doing it. But on the other hand, we were looking at trying to really make this job not.
Shouldn't the direction of your instructional facilitators come from the principal anyway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I say
So
something?
that makes sense to me.
Called on.
Go ahead, this is a discussion, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of times the instructional facilitators, they know all the codes to all the programs. So they're actually the first people a teacher will call. Not Susan. We'd call Wendy instead. She'd help us out.
Their coach. Sounds accurate to me. And so the rest of it, what you'll see in front of you as far as what the duties would require are real common as far as curriculum development, instructional support. I took most of this from what they were doing already, but I changed some of the wording where it may have been, again, evaluative, and then I did put some pieces in here about, I guess this one was there, cooperate with administrative and supervisory personnel on the overall education program. So they're working in conjunction with principals, not, I think, separate from them. Collaborate with teachers, principals, and district staff to improve instructional effectiveness. So a lot of collaboration. The first piece, lead the development and administration of the quality curriculum at all grade levels within the guidelines and standards developed by the Board of Trustees and the Office of Public Instruction. We had some of that wording. It wasn't lead, I think it was assist. But then in looking a little bit further, I felt like leading would be better because that is really what they do. But I did add this piece in conjunction with the administrative team, train and support teachers in aligning instruction with curriculum standards and assessment tools. So again, they're part of the team, but they basically aren't the ones to evaluate the teacher. So I know you need to chew on this, and are you looking for my recommendation?
I think we will be, yeah. I'm looking for your recommendation. I think like kind of we spoke the last meeting about, if we found the right person to do this, absolutely. That wants to do, that can take this, I think what you got here is pretty well defined, I think that spells it out exactly what, something that the teachers can get behind as far as that position goes. with this kind of redirection. So I'd like to see our instructional facilitators, do that coaching, helping with the teachers along with the principals, and then whoever this may be, like I said, I mean, that alignment, that keeps coming up, right?
Well, on the test coordinating, I mean, there's already a due date coming up pretty fast in September to submit all that to the state. There's new teacher training. There's basically going through all the data and getting that packaged up and ready to present to me, to present to you. So like right now, none of that's been done, and that's a big job. So.
And honestly, we've tried the part-time administrator, part-time teacher, and it just
It didn't
doesn't work well. No. So I think that option for me is off the table.
I agree.
And so, but I think that opening this and then with the option to get into that consortium, if we don't get someone in, is what I'd be fine, sure.
Mr. Bailey?
I agree. I think that's the right way to go.
I think, yeah, I mean,
And I think we've got clearly defined rules from the state too. That has to be an administrator position.
Well, fuzzy on that last time, I wasn't sure, but yeah, it's.
Sabrina, Angie, any comments on this?
I think with the changes that you put in, that will, from what I've got feedback from teachers, that better defined role, I think is exactly what they were looking for. So I think the way it's set out now is much better. It's a much better approach.
I fully agree.
I like this.
So do I.
I like this a lot.
I like this, and I know it's tough right now, but I would really like to see you and Mr. Bailey and Alicia and Robin try to find that person, whoever that may be. I'm sure you guys can all come back with a recommendation of someone, or if not, right now, we're gonna go with this consortium until we find that person.
Yeah.
And I don't foresee any pushback on that. So.
So I made it an action item.
So I'll move to that the Colstrip Public Schools Board of Trustees approves the salary and curriculum position as presented for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any public comment on this?
I just have a question about administration. So so my question is, why would they have to be administrator if they're not doing anything at that level of supervising anyone other than the instructional facilitators?
I mean, it's a good question. It's fair. I know there's administrators in districts that don't evaluate people at times. It's just a certificate that's required to carry out the duties. And I think just because curriculum is so critical from what the state requires. And so that person, they're not teaching, I mean, and they're not, I don't know how to explain it. I think it's just the heavy duty responsibilities of that position they're an administrator. They're administrating the curriculum. They're carrying it out. They're making sure everybody's carrying it out. So.
But they'd be doing that with the principal. They wouldn't be doing that by themselves.
Right, they work with
They'd be
them.
working together.
Yeah. Well,
So
State.
just a question.
yeah.
It's
So
just from the state
it's a
standards.
state requirement, yeah.
So you couldn't just change the name to something else?
No. No, I've called, I've talked, I've looked into it.
So can we call it a curriculum coordinator? No, it's got to be a curriculum director.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
they told Ryan and I both, I had him.
Supervisor of curriculum
Okay.
and instruction.
I had Ryan, sent the HR person sit in with me on the second phone call, and she repeated it again, specifically saying that it has to be the supervisor of curriculum and instruction, and they have to have a class 3 license to be in this position. So there was no other position that, I know sometimes there's between positions and that, there wasn't one.
Yeah. So does that answer what you, okay.
That was like my first order of business to find out. So then we went from there on refining the position and trying to.
But
make it-
defining this role too will help with that, like, it is a title that we have to go by from the state.
Yep.
But
This changes everything.
this is what, yeah.
Maybe it could help for teachers that that director is more directing the principals on what to do with curriculum, but then the principals are directing the teachers on how to implement it.
It's like a collaboration between this person and the principals, and then the principals
Yeah.
farm out what they,
So in a narrow way, the curriculum director is bossing the principals in a sense, but then it's a more defined line for the teachers that the curriculum director can't be walking around and telling an individual teacher what to do. Like, hey, you're not doing it right. I told the principals to do this. It's like, well, let the principal tell me what to do with this.
Yeah, they typically.
and they would go back to the principal and say, this is,
They're not gonna be evaluating.
no, they won't be doing any evaluating.
But they're informing, they're part of the admin team. They are doing just what Evan said. I mean, if you read the job description and even what we have before, they're directly informing me too of these curriculum requirements. I mean, and then if they have to know that, and again, that's all administrative type of work. So me, the principals, and then to the IFs, to the teachers, they're conducting the meetings, the curriculum meetings. There's several different types that are named here. So, and to make sure those occur, so.
Any further board discussion?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
for doing
welcome.
this.
It's been
It's good work.
quite informative.
All right, with that, I'll go to the vote. Angie,
Aye.
Sabrina,
Aye.
Wade,
Aye.
Tiff?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. And with that, meeting adjourned.